Namaste. So let's get started. I don't see Bhunaji, so we can get started. Anu, would you mind doing the chanting, meaning invocation also?
No problem. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Thank you, Anu. So welcome back. We will continue our discussion of Atma Bodha. So if you remember, we completed the topic Nididhyasana and moved on to the next topic, which is the benefit of this knowledge. So that was the topic we have been discussing. So probably we can do some chanting first and get started. So Anu, if you don't mind, this is the new topic is the fruits of self-knowledge. That's what it is. So let's chant from verse 40 to 44.
Rupavarnadikam sarvam vihaya paramarthavit paripurnachidananda swarupenavatisthate ज्ञातृज्ञानज्ञेयभेदः परेणात्मनि विद्यते चिदानन्दैकरूपत्वात् दीप्यते स्वयमेव तत् एवमात्मारणो ध्यानम् मथने सततं कृते उदितावगतिज्ज्वाला सर्वज्ञानेन्धनं दहेत् अरुणेनेव बोधेन पूर्वं सन्तमसे हृते तत आविर्भवेदात्मा स्वयमेवांशुमानिव अरुणेनेव बोधेन पूर्वं सन्तमसे हृते तत आविर्भवेदात्मा स्वयमेवांशुमानिव आत्मा तु सततं प्राप्नोति अप्राप्तवद्विद्यया तन्नाशे प्राप्तवत् भाति स्वकण्ठाभरणं यथा.
Very good. So from verse 40 onwards up to 48, the topic is the fruit of self-knowledge. So imagine, like, let's not make it very theoretical. What is the fruit of self-knowledge? Why we need self-knowledge?
Freedom from suffering.
Absolutely. That's the ultimate goal. But think about this. Just pause a moment and think on one point. Let's assume that you have a strong self-identity. Let's say that I am healthy, but somehow I have a feeling that I'm not healthy. That's a wrong self-judgment, right? or I'm weak, or people hate me, or nobody likes me, or different types of wrong thinking if I have. What is the immediate effect? Have you ever thought that? Shankaracharya's answer is very clear. The way you perceive the world will be wrong, correct? If I have a wrong notion that everybody hates me, whatever I see, I misinterpret. So the wrong perception, wrong thinking, wrong feeling. Naturally, what is going to happen? Wrong action. The response also will be wrong. Forget about self-knowledge. Even in the pratip means vyavaharika level, relative reality level, if I have a mistaken identity or a wrong self-judgment, in the modern psychology, you have wrong self-esteem. It is a problem. That itself is a problem. Now, imagine that. Even that itself is a problem. Now, imagine that you don't know your own true nature. What you are seeking is already what you are. Because we all seek what? Happiness, freedom from suffering. And in fact, I am that. This wrong self-judgment is the fundamental cause of all suffering. Taking a step back up to this 40 verses, what we saw, what is that wrong self-judgment? Wrong self-judgment is, I take in a dream what happens to me is a wrong self-judgment. In a dream, I feel that I am the dream body, dream mind. Naturally, my perceptions, my feeling, my thinking, my actions, reactions in the dream space and time is based on that judgment. The moment you become aware that it is a dream, the moment you change that to a lucid dream, your perception, feeling, thinking, and actions and reactions will be completely changing. Like that. You won't leave the world, but the self-knowledge is going to put an end to all the suffering, because I know that eventually I'm not going to end when this body ends. And this body is only a gadget or an instrument given to me. So beyond a limit, I'm not worried about the problems of my body, because I know that I have a body, but I'm not the body. So this is the fruit of self-knowledge. And this self-knowledge is gained because you don't have to gain it. You just need to be aware of that. We talked about that example. Now sitting here, I want to go to North Brunswick. How can I go? Because I'm already in North Brunswick. I may plan, I may need to take a plane, I need to take a rental car, I need to walk. All that is, by doing all that, I won't reach North Brunswick because I'm already there. So like that, the 10th man do not have to do anything to find the 10th man. He just need to aware of that. So for that, the only solution is knowledge. And that knowledge can be gained through Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam with a precondition. That precondition is you have to have a stable and a pure mind. So we have been talking about that Nididhyasanam, which is the negation of that habitual thinking, wrong thinking, Viparita Bhavana. And because it is not that Nididhyasanam is not going for giving the knowledge. Shravanam is going to give me the knowledge. Mananam is going to remove the doubts, whereas the Nididhyasanam is going to remove habitual thinking or reinforce that knowledge within me. So having explained that process of Nididhyasanam beautifully, Shankaracharya now explains the fruit of this self-knowledge. So on verse 40, which we covered last week, he said some brilliant words, right? He said, Rupa, Varna, Adi, it is not Atma. I am not Rupa, form. I am not Varna. I am not my temperaments. This is not me. Some people may proud that I am I am a beautiful body, or I am a learned person. Nothing is me. Then what he said, Vihaya Paramartha with. So the person who means the enlightened person, a person who with means to know, Paramartha Artha means goal, Paramartha means the ultimate goal. The person who has known the ultimate, meaning his own true self, he is not getting caught up by the name, form, varna, etc. And what he considered himself, Paripurna Chidanandam. He considers himself as Purnam, complete. Paripurna means what? Then another prefix.
Fully complete.
Totally complete. In our scriptures, it's just to remove any possibility of that doubt. Purnam itself means complete. Paripurnam means totally complete. In our scriptures, the example given is if you have a bucket of water, imagine that one drop of water, it is going to be full, pour out. That stage, it is Paripurnam, complete. That means there is not even an iota of improvement, scope of improvement. I got the maximum. So that is Paripurna Chidanandam, because I am the consciousness. Anandam, Purna Anandam, not even a means little bit of Ananda here and there. It's complete happiness and contentment. Paripurna Chidanandam. And then he tells, he established, Tishtati, he established in that Surupam. So he established in that Surupa, that nature of the Atma. So that is my real nature. So who am I? I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not belonging to this time and space. Yes, I am expressing myself here for a time period, but truly speaking, I am Atma. So that is what we saw. So let's continue. So let's chant the next verse. Anu, could you please chant?
ज्ञातृज्ञानज्ञेयभेदः परेणात्मनि विद्यते चिदानन्दैकरूपत्वात् दीप्यते स्वयमेव तत्.
So very interesting verse. Shankaracharya tells, Jnatr Jnana Jnaya Bheda. So this is a pretty much technical term in Advaita Vedanta. You would see this threefold aspect. Jnatr Jnana Jnaya. Anybody knows what is Jnatr Jnana Jnaya? One is the knower. Second one is the known. And the third one is, what is the connection between, means how, let's say that if there is a snake in front of me,
Knowledge.
the knowledge, when I see that, there is a process of connecting the knower and the known, right? That is the jnana, jnatr, jnaya. So jnanam, knowledge, jnatr, knower, jnaya means the object of knowledge. So till you realize the true nature of yourself, there is always a difference. You see everything else as different from you. I put a boundary on me. What is the boundary? The boundary of my body. That is the boundary I put for myself. So think about this. This for a Nupasaka, right? For a Karma Yogi, this difference exists. When I do Karma Yoga, I am offering, right, my action to Ishvara. Remember that famous verse of Bhagavad Gita? Yajñarthat karmanonyatra. I'm going to make all my karmas into yajna. What does that mean? Estu sarvani bhuta. No. Yatat pravritti bhutanam ena sarvamidam tadam swakarmanat todarchasya siddhim vindati manavaha. This is the definition of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means I'm offering my action to Ishvara, or the God of the universe, with Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. And when I get the results, I get Prasada Buddhi. So in every action, the Karta, Karma, and the object of subject, object, and the verb is always there. I am the subject. What I see or interact is object, and the process of interaction is the verb. So that is always there for a Karma Yogi. Let's go to the Upasana Yogi. So when you do the Upasana Yoga, what is going to happen? You're sitting and meditating upon something. Either it could be your breathing, or it could be the form of God, or it could be a mantra. Whatever is that difference is there. Jnana, Jnaya, Jnatru. That difference is there. So for a Karma Yogi, this difference is there. Upasana Yogi, this difference is there. But once you know the truth, right? Thereafterwards, you may physically separated from the world, but you know that the other wave I am seeing is nothing but water. And who am I? I am also water. One gold ornament realizes that there is no difference between the other ornament and me, because I may have a shape, but essentially who I am is gold. And that is exactly what the other ornaments are. So fundamentally, there is no difference between me and the other ornaments. So a person who knows the self, he don't see any difference in anything, right? When he see a computer, he see this as nothing but the fabric of creation, which is the same fabric of creation in me. So he see only Atma everywhere. From the Jivatvam, he moves to the Atmatvam. So he negates the individuality, the plurality, and he see that unity in that diversity. So that's the first meaning. Like he tells, Jnana Jnatar Jnaya Bheda. Pare Namnyati Vidyate. Pare Atmani Na Vidyate. So he won't see in Atma, he don't see any difference in Jnana, Jnaya, or Jnatar. So there is no difference he sees throughout the world, right? And then he tells Chidananta Eka Rupatvat, because the nature of Atma is Chit, consciousness. Ananda, again, actually, it's full of contentment. And Ekatva, there is no, Ekatva means there is no two, only one, right? And then he tells Deepyate Swayameva, because it doesn't need anything else existence for the support. For example, if you take the gold ornament, the old ornament exists only because of gold. The wave exists only because of water. But for the means like that, the body exists because it is supported by Atma. The table exists because it is supported by Atma. The sun exists because it is supported by Atma. So that is why in Mundaka Upanishad you see Kasminno Vijñāte Sarvamidam Vijñādam Bhavati. So that is the Kathopanishad, by knowing which I can know everything. And this is the fabric of creation. And this is Atma. And when you have that vision, that person is known as Pandita. That person is known as Pandita. The definition of Pandita given by Bhagavad Gita is Pandita Samadarshina. That is the definition. The one who sees everything as same. How can you see somebody as same? In that verse of Bhagavad Gita, there is a popular verse. Anybody knows the meaning of that verse? What would be his attitude? He gives extreme example. A highly evolved spiritual seeker and a Chandala. An elephant, a snake, a cow, and a dog. He sees Atma in everything. So the names and forms are incidental. Yes, he may have to manage the names and forms. You cannot take the snake and put in your lap. That is not what we are asking. But he sees that everything is God. So that's why when you look at the Sanatana Dharma versus the other monotheistic religions, they say what? There is one God. There is only one God, they say. And what is Sanatana Dharma's position there? 100%. There is only one God. But we add a little bit more clause. There is only God. So when your kids gets doubt, please explain. We are not somebody who believes in multiple gods fighting each other and with all the problems. No. Per our idea, there is only one God. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuta Vatanti. The truth is only one. The learned people call it in different names. And when everything is God, there is a beauty. What is that beauty? You can invoke that God in any forms you want. So you can invoke the God in the form of a tree. You can invoke the God in the form of a mountain. You can invoke that same God in the form of a bird. Even you can invoke the same God in the form of a snake. So when you bow down in front of a banyan tree, we are not worshipping that tree. We are worshipping the God who has manifested as that tree. There is a huge difference. When you respect a flag of a country, are you respecting the cloth? Absolutely not. You are respecting the symbol or pointer. Cloth is only a pointer. It is pointing to a higher concept or idea. Here, when you invoke or worship a tree or a plant or a stone or a sand, you're invoking the total. The total can be invoked in any form. This is the idea. It's very hard to understand for a lot of people. When they say that you guys worship stone, ask them, in which scripture we said we are worshipping the stone? We are worshipping God only. Please, this is very important. So that idea is discussed in this verse. So Pandita Samadarshinaha. Another definition of Pandita is the one who sees, whose mind always revel in the Atma. Atma Vishaye Buddhi. The one who revels in the Atma is Pandita. But sadly, the word Pandit in Hindi is totally different from Pandita in Sanskrit. So what happens? The word Pandit took the new norms. I was told that even a person expert in an expert cook is also called as Pandit in North India. So that's not what the Sanskrit word means. So that's the verse. So just contemplate upon this. This is beautiful topic of meditation, because see, even this is Shravanam and Mananam. I know that Nidithyasanam we have in there, but even this Shravanam and Mananam can give a lot of confidence, a lot of positivity in us. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. So let's continue. Now, these verses, we can go a little bit more fast. We can cover 4 verses of this topic because it is reinforcing the same idea. So let's go to the next verse, 42. Anu, could you please stand?
एवमात्मारणौ ध्यानम् मथने सततं कृते उदितावगतिज्ज्वाला सर्वज्ञानेन्धनं दहेत्.
Another brilliant example. One of the speciality of Atma Bodha is what? It's full of examples. This is another beautiful example. Shankaracharya quoted this example from an Upanishad, Kaivalya Upanishad. So Kaivalya Upanishad gives a brilliant example. This example is related to the ancient rituals. So the ancient means you have to understand the life at that point of time. Spiritual seekers or even the materialist householders at that point of time, these daily rituals were part of their lifestyle. Every day they conduct some yajna, symbolic yajna, not the other yajna we have been talking in the Bhagavad Gita. What Krishna did was, Krishna took that ritual and overloaded with the karma. That is what the greatest contribution of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So ancient time, they used to do these yagas and yajnas. They create some fire and they offer so many things. And that was their view, or that was their means to express the gratitude towards the Ishvara. Because Kale Varjadu Parjanya, Prithvi Sasya Shalini, you have like everything is happening in the universe. And that universe, everything is happening. I am certainly sensitive to that happening. And this was their means of offering thanks to that universal law. They believed that that worked. Well, there is nothing wrong in that. But how do they kindle fire? How do they create fire for that ritual? They use an instrument called Arani. Have you heard of that? Arani. Arani means there is a wooden pot kind of something, and then there is a wooden like there is another wood is there, and they put a small cloth here, and they used to drill or churn this. After a few churning, what is going to happen? Because of the friction, what will happen? There will be a spark, and from that spark, fire used to come. And they used to take this and kindle the ritual. So this was the ancient practice. So Shankara takes that example and he tells, Evam Atma Arano Dhyana. So Arano means 2 Arinis. Arini is 1. Aranau means plural. There are 2 things, because there is a lower portion, there is a higher portion. And when these 2 combines and drill or churn, that is the time the fire comes. So evam meaning this, Atma Arano Dhyana. So Dhyana Mathane. So this drilling or churning is actually the contemplation. That is the example, right? So, and what exactly is drilling or churning? The lower portion is considered as your mind, body, and the higher portion is considered as Atma. So when through the meditation is the art, or initially Upasana and finally the Nididhyasanam is considered as the art of churning. So Dhyana Madhane, the contemplative churning. It's an example, right? It's a simile. So the contemplation or the Nididhyasanam is considered as churning. The aranis are considered as the individual self and the Paramatma. So when the individual self and the Paramatma is connected through contemplation, just like the lower arani and the higher arani are connected through the art of churning, what is the byproduct of that churning? Fire. So here he tells Udita avadhi jwala. Udita means what happens? This then born, then creates this fire of knowledge. So the fire symbolizes the knowledge. And what gets burned? The cloth or the fuel kept there gets burned. So the fuel or the cloth is considered as your ignorance. This is the simile. This simile is a cut and paste from Kaivalya Upanishad. So once again, think through that. The lower self and the higher self are connected through the process of contemplation or the Nididhyasana. Just like a lower arani is connected with the higher arani through the art of churning. And what happens as a result of that contemplation? What is the product of that contemplation? Knowledge. So just like fire is the product of that churning of the arani, and what it burns, the cloth, like that. Here in the symbolic contemplation, what gets burned? Viparita bhavana. So this is a poetic simile. So essentially, what he is saying is that when you contemplate upon yourself, at that point of time, this knowledge will come, and in that fire of knowledge, all the ignorance will be gone. Just a poetic simile. Look at Shankaracharya. He is a great self-realized master who is a wonderful teacher, but he's a poet also. He can write poetry like anything, right? Means you might have heard the story of Bhajagovindam. He was just walking and he saw somebody was just studying meaningless grammar. Grammar you need, but somebody was trying to by heart this grammar. So suddenly this poem came out of him. Bhajagovindam, Bhajagovindam. Manisha Panchakam. When this Chandala appeared in front of Shankara, a brilliant poetry came in. So you may think that he is an Advaita Vedantin, so he writes only the high Vedanta Darshana. No. He has written so many hymns. Kshama Parada Stotram of Shiva is Shankaracharya's. It's a brilliance. And Shiva Manasa Puja is Shankaracharya. How many hymns he composed? Then you may think that, okay, he composes only about Shiva. He composed a lot of songs about Ganapati, Devi, Krishna, Vishnu, everybody. Why? In front of him, Krishna is only one symbol. So what he tells is, when you can relate with the total in any form you want, you can see him as a universal father. You can see him as a universal mother. So suppose somebody is more interested in the feminine form of like a motherly love you want. No problem. You don't have to worship God in a male form. You can worship the God in a female form. We have most wonderful form. Then you can, if you want to worship in a most attractive form, you have Krishna. If you want to worship that same God in an ever young but always powerful form. You have Subramanya, Muruka. How many forms? Swami Chinmayananda used to say, manufacture a few forms if you want. That's also fine. As long as you know this. That's what it is. So, evam atmarano dhyana mathane satatam krite. Satatam krite means continuously contemplating. When you contemplate the Atma continuously, udita vavati jwala sarva ajnana idam dahed. All the ajnana, all the ignorance will be burned. So let's continue. I think I didn't copy the verse 43. So Anu, could you please chant? You can look at the
अरुणेनेव बोधेन पूर्वं सन्तमसे हृते तत आविर्भवेदात्मा स्वयमेवांशुमानिव.
Again, another simile. Arunena eva bodhena. You know who is Aruna?
Sun.
Yeah, the morning sun. The sun in that red color, symbolically represented as Aruna. So he tells Aruna eva bodhena. See, from the light of that early sun itself, what happens? The darkness disappears. And then Purva Santatam Ase Hriday, all the darkness get destroyed. So then he tells Tata Avibhavet Atma. So when the sun comes in, right, there is no place for even the ignorance. So Tata Atibhavena Atma Swayameva Amshumaniva. So when you realizes the truth, it is like the full-blown sun came in. So in the beginning stage, right, when you do the Shravanam, Mananam, Nidithyasanam, that time is considered as like Aruna's form. Like the knowledge is not full revealed, but it started coming. That time itself, you can see that the darkness slowly disappears. But there are still darkness, right? So in the early morning, you see a red color in the sound in the horizon. You can see a little bit of darkness here and there, but it's not fully dark. You could see the sign of darkness getting removed. So when you start this contemplation, when you start this Shravanam, Mananam, Nidithyasanam, that time itself, before even you getting that full realization of the Atma, that itself you can see the light. You can see, you feel inspired. You see that everything is coming into the right place. You feel more confident. And once you realize this truth through the contemplation, Nidithyasanam, there is no place for ignorance. When the sun is fully blown, there is no scope for darkness. In fact, darkness is absence of light. There. Another brilliant example. Love this example. It's fantastic because before the sun comes into the horizon, right, the Aruna comes in. So partially the darkness getting removed. As the sun comes up, and fully, actually in the morning, all the darkness will be removed. So when you start doing the Shravana, Manana, Nidithyasanam itself, you can see that the ignorance starts melting away slowly. And over a period of time, all the ignorance will go. Again, this is the benefit of self-knowledge. Another beautiful example by Shankaracharya. So these verses are relatively simple verses. So we can cover one more verse. Okay, so 44. We can see. And could you please chant?
Oh, sorry. Atma tu satatam praptopi apraptavadavidyaya tannashe praptavat bhati swakanthabharanam yatha.
This is again beautiful example, brilliant exposition of the Advaita Vedanta. Shankara tells, he tells, Atma tu satatam praptu. Atma tu satatam, that Atma, even though to satatam, always praptu, present. The Atma is always present. I am always Atma. I was the Atma. I am the Atma. And even if I forget that, I will be the Atma. So Atma tu satatam praptu. Atma is always present. But what is the problem? Apraptat avidyaya. Api apraptat avidyaya. So he tells it seems absent. Praptat. Prapta means reachable, present. But we never see that Atma. We see only the body and the mind. Why? He tells the answer. Why? Avidyaya. Because of ignorance. Even though I am the Atma always, I don't see Atma because of avidya. And then what happens? Tannashe praptavat bhadi. When that tannashe, tan means that. What is that here? Avidya, right? So that avidya, when that avidya get destroyed, tannashe, the destruction of the avidya, prapnavat bhadi. So you get, you feel, you find the Atma. And then he gives a brilliant example. Swakanthaparanam yatha. Somebody apparently was searching for the ornament in the neck. This person was searching the ornament everywhere. And finally, he or she found that out. Where was that? In my own neck. So was the ornament absent earlier? It means some people put their glass on their head, or means they keep the glass and they search for the glass. That's the modern example. So Atma is always present. There is not a time when the Atma is not there. But I don't see the Atma because of the ignorance. So through this knowledge, through this self-knowledge, Shravanam, Mananam, Nidithyasanam, when I go through that, it appears that I found Atma. But am I really find something lost? Atma was never always there. I didn't see that. That's all. Just like the lady or the gentleman who is searching for the ornament, and finally he or she find that it is in his own neck. Like that, the Atma is never missing. So this is the repetition a little bit, but it is really reinforcing that idea. What is that idea? I am the Atma. So if you summarize these verses, it tells I am the Atma. My real nature is Atma. But what is the problem? I don't see that. This brilliant example is there, right? So the book I was talking, Janaka and Ashtavakra, in that book also it talks about a lot of dream Janaka has. It's there in the Ramayana. It means Ashrafji just quoted that from the Ramayana. But in that one dream, Janaka see that he is a beggar. He's in a queue. He is begging for food. But who is he in reality? He's the most richest person of that country. But if you don't see that because of that ignorance, you suffer. That is the whole point. So you don't see the Atma, and as a result, you suffer. And the only way to get out of that suffering is knowledge. And what is that knowledge? Knowing yourself. And how do you know yourself? It is through the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. So this idea is a little bit more elaborated in the upcoming verse. So the next topic are like we covered up to verse 44. So 45 to 48, 45, 46, 47, 48. We will cover that next week. That is the fruit of self-knowledge. And then 49 to 53, Shankaracharya is going to talk about an enlightened person. And then 54 to 64, 10 verses, he's going to talk about the knowledge of the absolute reality. What exactly is the absolute reality? You have seen that in the Bhagavad Gita, but again, the same topic will come. And finally, 65 to 68, he talks a little bit about enlightenment. So this is the next upcoming topics. Now we can cover this quickly. So we covered up to 44. So 24 verses are there. In 6 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks, we can cover this topic because we spent a lot of time on Nididhyasana and about the Atma. That was the key topic. But this is a brilliant book. And once we cover this, we can take a break during the summer, and then September we can start with the Isha Upanishad. So we'll go with Shankara's commentary. So it will be an intense study, but definitely you will enjoy it. Okay. So any questions? Have 5 minutes.
I just wanted to share something very interesting.
Yeah, please.
There is a syndrome called Munchausen syndrome. I'm pretty sure some of you would have heard. Saying basically this is a healthy person. She always feels, I have a patient like that. She always feels she's sick. She constantly comes to us, goes to ER, wants to do all the tests and all the tests. Nothing, no matter what you do, everything is coming normal, but you won't accept it. So we actually refer them to a behavioralist, and he constantly talks to her, to get rid of her, information, what she thinks about herself, And it reminds me when you told me this, but I have a patient, I'm going through this every week. She shows up into the clinic and I'm so tired of her.
Yeah.
Constantly remind her she's okay,
That is how an enlightened master may feel for all of us. And that's why I was using that example at the beginning. Actually, I see a lot of people. Oh my God, I feel that the resources they have, the skills they have, the blessings they have, that is good enough for any normal person to be happy, contented, and everything. But this person always creates a hell. Right? And then not only he or she creates a hell, and make sure that the people around also stays in that condition. So that's what it is. So this teaching is such a valuable teaching, right? It helps me to look at the life in a different way. That's what we call it as objectivity, right? Otherwise, it is called subjectivity. I add certain coloring to what I see, and then I prefer to suffer. Such people, even if God comes and gives them everything, they will find one reason to get sad. What was that story? Like in one of the Purana, there was a story. I forgot that story. It's very interesting. Like there was a person, God thought like in his life, let me create one person who is always happy. And he fails. That's what the story is. People will find some reason.
In South India, they say Nakira Parambara. So basically, there's Lord Shiva comes. There's a poet. He keeps singing, and they have a competition. And then Lord Shiva comes and he sings. And then, of course, this guy always finds a fault. That's why whenever, and they say, no matter what you do, this guy will always find fault. They call it as Nakira Parampara in Tamil. It's very interesting.
I think the greatest lesson is learn to be happy. Instead of finding one thing to get sad, just change your attitude.
Yeah, but Rajesh, that's the thing, right? I mean, there are people who strongly believe that, if you have sufferings when you're a child, you will be happy later on because you have possibly gone through many of the hardships, right? But then those people, they continue living their life thinking that they are always a child, right? So they are never happy.
They're never happy, and even God cannot give them happiness.
Yeah, because I think they see sadness in happiness, so because that's the path. So it becomes very difficult.
Yeah. No, I think, see, the thing is, the word Shanti is very important. And remember, I was talking about that during our happiness event. It's not that you need to create happiness. Only thing the external objects does is it removes that constant sense, it suspends that constant sense of insecurity. That time I feel that happiness. So if the God comes and I ask you, can you give me happiness? He said, I cannot. You are already happy. What I can do is I can remove these noises from your mind and system so that you will feel that already happiness. So that is why the word Sham means quietude. So that's why we utter the word Shanti 3 times. I want quietude from Adi Devika. So external objects where I do not have any control. Then the second is called Adi Bhautika, which is external objects where I do have some control. And the third one is Adhyatmika. Adhyatmika is from my own mind, the trouble comes in, whatever I creates. So if I can be freed from all these 3, I feel Shanti. And that's why you chant Purnamada, Purnamada. At the end, you say Om Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. That's the meaning. Very interesting topic. Okay, so we can stop here and we'll continue with these next 4 verses next week. So Anu, could you chant the Purnamada?
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.